Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting!
Okay, so this box right here is all of the stuff that has been sitting in my stash for ages. This is my use it or lose it box. So come the end of the year, anything still in this box I have to get rid of. So I'm gonna try and use up my stash. So if you're playing along at home, gather a bunch of stuff you've had sitting around in your stash for ages and toss it into a box. And I'm gonna pull this little photo case out that's got some die cuts in it, and that's what we're gonna play with today. All right, so what I have in here are leftover die cut bits from projects I made, I think like 8 years ago. So I've got some inked metallic paper, inked regular cardstock. I think this is metallic. I've got some acetate. I know I've got some mirrored cardstock in here. And these are using Tim Holtz Sizzix dies. They are, this is comic book board that I put, I think, glued tissue paper over top and added some glitter to. I think that's the same with this. Some that haven't even been inked or had anything done to them, probably because I used these on mixed media canvases, and with the acetate pieces, they weren't necessarily showing up the way I wanted to on the piece, so I probably cut out some white cardstock to back the acetate pieces on the canvases that I did, but that then left me with a whole bunch of those. Yeah, I've got a ton of these. I also have a container with some of the cutout pieces. Like, this is mirror paper. Sorry about any glare. So it's got a film coating over top, but it is shining like a mirror. So yeah, and then this is a leftover piece of, I think it's clear paper that I acetate that I alcohol inked and then glued onto a piece of light purple cardstock, and this should not be in here because it goes with a different die cut that's in another container in there. See, and yeah, you get the little leftover pieces. So that's all the stuff that's in this container. We're going to use these, and I think what we're going to create are some belly bands using this as an accent piece on. And of course, I look through this, I'm looking at it, I'm like, none of these colors, well, the pink might work with but the shape isn't necessarily what I would want for the sewing journal that I'm working on. But I may end up using it in one of those. But so that's the use it or lose it item I've got. And like I said, I still have all of like the offcut pieces. Apparently I used the green main cutout from the arrow ones and have these left over. These are cut out from different ones. Yeah, tons of stuff that I just need to use. So I've got, these are book page that I was using as to glue on with glue stick, which, yeah, if you've watched my channel, you know I'm not a big fan of glue stick. I keep trying it and I'm still not a big fan of glue stick. But I've got these pages that will work for bases for our belly bands, and they measure, let's see, how wide are they? They are 3 inches wide, so they're a little wider than what I'm gonna want, so I'm gonna probably trim those down. And the full size of one of these is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not quite 5.5 inches. Which is going to work out good because what we're going to do is we're going to create belly bands that go sideways on the page, not up and down on the page. So I am going to trim these guys down. Oh, let's see how wide these are. They are a hair over 2 inches. They're about 2 inches wide. So what I may do is trim these down to 2 1/4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches long. And then we can start decorating and doing interesting things to get those ready, and then add these guys for creating some belly bands. All right, so this one I cut down to the 5 1/4 by 2 1/4, and I was realizing if I want it to go like top to bottom, it's gonna need to be cut down a little bit more, maybe. So I didn't cut the rest of these down. This way I could decide afterwards. So I think that's gonna go on there, but I wanna do something to the background. So you know what? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cut. Let's pull out and decide which 6 of these we're gonna use and pair them up with the base. I think this is a piece of comic book board with tinfoil attached to it and alcohol inked. So let's use that guy. Let's go with this lovely one. And none of these colors, as I said, really work with what I'm working on now, but I do have stuff in the works that I am planning on doing, like a oceany themed one that this would be perfect for. So let's go ahead and do that one. Oh, we're sticking together. I've got this one actually might work with the sewing journal I'm doing. All right, so we'll definitely do that guy. And let's see, one more. Let's do the orange. Why not? All right, those are the ones we're gonna start working on. And what I need to decide is what I want to do, because the background is kind of ho-hum. I'm thinking this is Aall&Create Heritage Scroll Washi tape. Another product that I really need to use is my washi tapes. So why not put this on behind? And what I'll end up doing is I think I'm just gonna use the washi tape to cover up the background. And I am going to use an acrylic block. So yeah, this is pretty much just a come along, craft with me. Not really much of a tutorial, just a, hey, I've got this stuff. Oh, look, that lines up, kind of. Looks like it lines up with the top of the A, just not with the rest of the stuff on here. Gonna and see glued together with whatchamacallit, glue stick, and it's coming apart. Like I just, glue stick and me are not friends. I'm just gonna add a little art glitter glue. I don't know if I just don't add enough or what, but I was working on a project for my aunt's Christmas presents, and I was gluing stuff together with glue stick, and as I was still working on the project, the glue stick was falling apart on me. So yeah, I'm not going to be spending any more money buying glue sticks because we do not get along. Not exactly perfect on the edges, but it's okay because this is just serving as the background. And I'll trim that little piece off on the corner there. All right, this is just meant to serve as a backdrop for the rest of what we're going to be doing. So I think that, and I want to do something to this, and I think what I'm going to do is pull out a stamp, and we're going to stamp on it to give it a little bit more interest. And I am going to grab, it's Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous, sorry about the glare, Tapestry CMS414. And I'm going to grab out my mouse pad just to help with my stamping, and a block just because I want to actually stamp it on the whole thing at once, and it'll be easier that way. And I think I'm going to go Scorched Timber. You know what? we're gonna stick underneath that one of the other pieces we've got, so that any excess stamping will go onto there. I'm gonna use my little stamping press tool thingy. And let's see what we got. Ooh, I think I kind of like how that is on there. That's gonna be interesting. All right, so that kind of tamped down how bright the pink was. All right, and I'm going to grab the container where I have the cut pieces from. And let's pull a few of those in. Here comes the fun part, because you got to figure out where they came out of to fit them back in. So that you don't have to sit here and watch me futz around trying to find ones that fit in here. I will do that and be right back. So I found the pieces that I want and pulled out some other items to go on here to finish this belly band off. But I want to stamp on these guys. So we're going to pop them out. Make sure I've got them right side up. And I think I'm going to use the same stamp, but a different color. I'm going to stick them on one of my little off-cut pieces. And I'm going to use Victorian Velvet. And stamp on there. And that gives me an interesting background, and yes, there's open gaps there, but I can always cover that with something. So we're gonna set that aside. So look at us multitasking. Peel these guys off. I am going to ink my edges. I don't know with the washi tape that the inking is gonna stick very well. Let's give it a try. Worst thing that happens is it doesn't take. It seems to be working pretty good. All right, now let's glue this piece down. This on. And if you watched my Monday Mass Make video where I was talking about having to take my dog to the vet because he seemed to have injured his back or his leg or something, I will give you the update on him. He seems to be doing all right today. The vet didn't necessarily find anything in particular that was causing the issue. Oh man, did I do that one backwards? Or was it in that slot? Oh man. Oh man. I stamped that one backwards. Well, actually, no, I put it in backwards because this is really supposed to go over there. Nuts. All right, that one does fit in there correctly. It does. All right, let's put that one in. So yeah, they did x-rays, so no injury that showed up on the x-rays, which is good because I was not looking forward to the possibility of having to... Oh, dagnabbit! I did that one backwards too, and that one doesn't actually go in that slot either because I have that upside down. Okay. Let's see, this one's supposed to go over here, and again, I did that one. Okay, I apparently am just batting, 1,000 here today. All right, let's put that one in since it's actually stamped on the right side and fits in correctly. Oh, not that one. This one. All right. I'm gonna pull my stamp back over. There's still some ink on it. We're gonna just take these pieces, stick them on, kind of push them down, and go from there. So again, nothing was wrong on his x-ray. The vet did see a little bit of gas on there, so it's possible his discomfort is, you know, a tummy issue that seems to be radiating to his back, or it could be he just tweaked his back or his leg. So they did blood work. Nothing terribly concerning in his blood work. We are going to have to go back next week for a recheck, and he's got all the good drugs. So he's got medication that will help in case it's his stomach that's the issue, or his you know, digestive tract kind of thing. And if this is too graphic for you, please feel free to hit mute. So he's got meds for that. They put him on meds for, all right. This is from my Porch Prints. This is Shabbydabbydoodah, and this is a piece of antique Gothic font book page. Yeah, I keep picking stuff up on like Etsy for, you know, antique book pages stuff, and then forgetting to use them. So I'm gonna try and be better about using that sort of stuff too. All right, I am gonna ink all my edges, and I'm gonna use the Victorian Velvet. So he seems to be doing much better, but yeah, he's got all the good drugs. He's got the, as I was saying, the medication to help his upset tummy. He's got medication to pain meds. He's got a muscle relaxant, and then they also gave medication to keep him calm so that he doesn't, you know, if the source of his pain was that he did something to tweak his back or his leg, so that he stays calm and doesn't try and jump and act like a loony to injure himself further. So yeah, he has been, until just before I started filming, passed out all day because his meds pretty much knocked him on his butt. So, but he's been sleeping peacefully and does not seem to be in distress. In fact, this morning he was clearly doing a little bit better, because a couple times he made as if he was going to jump, and I kind of, you know, got down closer to him and stopped him from jumping, because yeah, he does not need to be jumping right now. So, and then of course, while I was at the vet's office picking him up, my other little darling managed to get a bag of dark chocolate covered pretzels off my counter and eat those. So that involved a call to, all right, so that one's done. The vet poison control line. I'm going to end up having to, you know, just set up an account for myself with them with the number of times I end up calling because of him. I think I'm going to leave this about this width. I'm probably going to trim it down just a little bit to get rid of the rough edge, since I don't have a rough edge down here. And I've got a dog barking outside, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I was working on this one and thought I had the camera going and did not, so I'm not entirely sure what did get filmed and what didn't. I think I hopefully filmed the adding of the lace and this piece. And then to top it, I grabbed some more of that antique Gothic German book page. This is a printable by Abrotique, and this is a printable by Shabbydabbydoodah. So I just backed the printable, and again, I inked with antique linen on this piece to knock back the white. So there's that one finished. Sorry about that. I went up to pause it because I was like, oh, I've got this one. I need to have a bit of a think, and I don't want to, you know, have you sitting as I contemplate the meaning of life, trying to figure out what I want to do for this guy, to pause the video filming and realized it wasn't filming. Sorry. So I am gonna go figure out what I've got that will work nicely with these to go on our background, and I'll be right back. All right, so a bit of change of plans. I realized as I was looking at this that on the book page that I actually had a piece of cleanup paper that for a project I was working on earlier where I was playing with my distress inks, and that I thought that would be really cool. I just think it needs some blues added into it. So we are gonna move some stuff out of the way so that we can get out our distress ink and add a little, I think peacock feather would look nice with this. So we're gonna put a little of that on the mat, do a little bit of peacock feathers. Do a little spritz with some water and just tap and add a little of that onto that piece. Give it a little bit of a dry. Do a little bit more on the edges. Okay, so I think I also want to do a little bit of backgroundy stamping. So let me find a stamp that I want to use. So I'm grabbing Reflections. It's CMS414 because I'm thinking scripty bit. And we're going to use that guy. And I'm going to go with tea dye. And I'm not going to use a stamping block because I don't necessarily want a full impression on this. I just want to add a little bit more interest. I am, however, going to put it back on my old mouse pad because that does help with stamping, having a squishy background, something like squishy that you stamp on. So we're just going to do that. And you can barely see it, which I'm okay with. Yeah, it's very, very, very faint. I may go back and do it again because it's not like I'm stamping this so that you can read it. I'm just stamping it to add a bit of interest. So even if it doesn't stamp in the same spot, it's really not gonna make that big of a difference. All right, now we're gonna add our alcohol inked piece on. And I think other than inking the edges, I'm gonna leave finishing this one off for another day because I don't necessarily have anything to hand that I think would work for this guy. I might have some labels that I could put on, but I think this is gonna be a finish it off later's, save it for an oceany themed journal. I've definitely got some stuff in my stash somewhere that will work with this. I just don't have it either printed out or handy at this point in time because I'm working on my steampunk bee and sewing journals, so not necessarily going to work for any of those, but will work for a future project, I am sure. All right, let's see. What do I want to ink the edges with? I think I want to do tea dye. All right, we're going to use a little bit of tea dye on the edges, just lightly. Again, I don't want to add too much color at this point. Just make that fancy edge stand out. Now, okay, I'm starting to get tired. I don't remember if I mentioned that I used my very old paper trimmer, which has different types of blades and is no longer available, to cut the edges on this so that it's got a like big scallop. It's supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be the wave shape, which is supposed to be pointy, which it kind of comes to as best of a point as a rotary trimmer can get on a scallopy type cut. So there's another one done. Let's pull this one over. It is a green glittery, I think this was an inked tissue paper glued to comic book board. And as I'm looking at it, I think I know what I want to grab for doing something to this background. So let me go grab that. This is a Pink and Main mermaid tail stencil. because this screams dragon to me. So I think we are going to ink this background, and I'm just trying to decide what color I want to do with this, and I really am thinking purple. I know that seems kind of strange, but I think the purple will be a nice contrast with the greens. And I've got Sizzix Luster Wax in Lilac Rainbow, which will look great over top of purple on this. So that's what we're gonna do for this one. Gonna grab a scratched piece of paper so I don't have to worry about clean up. All right, so I have grabbed Seedless Preserves Distress ink and gonna ink up the background with that. Grab a brush. There, and then that over top, and it's looking a little too busy. Okay, I think what we're gonna do is just go over the whole thing in purple. And if I can't get the pattern knocked back, what we're gonna do is, ta-da, flip over to the back. All right, we're gonna go over the whole thing in purple. And what I'm gonna do, we're gonna see how this works, is go over it with just the luster wax. And I will warn you, if you use luster wax with a stencil, it will stain the stencil. I don't know if you can see it if it's showing up. I used this on the Jane Austen Meets Dragons project and used it with luster wax, and there's like, I don't know if I used this luster wax or the gold, and there's definitely some staining on the stencil, but it doesn't hurt the stencil, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, so this should hopefully just give a little subtle shimmer. All right, let's pull that off. And yeah, there's definitely some that have more wax than others. All right, we're just gonna kind of do that because it didn't go through very well with the stencil with my finger. Should have used dauber. So yeah, we've got a little bit of shimmer underneath, which I think that actually works fairly well with our piece. I like that color combo. Set that aside. I am gonna go have a quick cleanup because my fingers are now all covered with luster wax, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I grabbed some bits and bobs, had a bit of a think about the other ones that I've got, did something that potentially was a bad idea, but I've worked that out as well. So let's go ahead and finish assembling these guys. So for this one, I pulled out some cogs. This is Fabby Art Studio. I cannot remember if these guys are Abrotique or Fabby Art Studio. And this is Shabbydabbydoodah. Again, I'll double check everything and leave links down in the description below. So that's gonna go there. He's gonna go here. This guy's gonna go behind to help our dragon stand out. And so let's just start attaching. I'm gonna end up cleaning that up later, but I think I'm gonna attach it kind of there so that everything can hang over a little bit without causing problems when I use it as a belly band. So let's just start the gluing. And I think I'm gonna attach everybody down and then stick this on so that I can get it how I want it. Yep, all right, and we're gonna start with the top piece. I'm gonna put some on his wings and attach him to the cogs, then attach these guys to the piece below. And then just position this so that it's on there. I'm just pressing down because this has got glitter on it, just to make sure it sticks. So this sticks out below here and isn't attached down, but oh, none of it's attached down. Let's add some more glue, apparently. You know what? Let's figure out where it's going and make sure we put glue on this piece, since that's what's it's getting stuck to. So there. All right. So I'll just trim that off when I'm ready to use this to get a clean edge there, and that's another one done. All right, for this one, I decided I wanted to take a printable, and I'm actually going to make this going to have it be a belly band going this way and make it a little longer, because I decided I wanted to have it framed by this digital, which I believe is Angela Kerr. All right, so I'm going to grab my paper trimmer, trim this down. I'm cutting it at like 3 1/4 inches, so it's a little wider than what we've been doing. So it's a little wider than these folded in half book pages are, and I don't want it catching as I put things in and out. So I am gonna grab a scrap piece of paper. All right, so I just went ahead and cut a piece of cardstock down to 7 by 3 1/4, and it's got a little bit extra, so I'll just trim that off after I attach this onto my piece of cardstock. And I'm not entirely sure that this is going to become a belly band instead of getting turned into like a tag, but we're just gonna make it, and then when we go to use it can decide what we want to use it as, because it's a little short for my standard page sizes to be a belly band. I mean, I could probably still do it, but we'd have more than an inch top and bottom. I don't know. We shall see. We're going to just go ahead and make it and then decide when it comes time to use it how we want to use it. So here's the, I decided I wanted to do this and went, oh no, I'm going to be creating extra scraps. But what I've done is already kind of laid out uses for the scrap pieces that are being created by me cutting this bit out of this digital. So I am gonna just finish those so that they actually don't go into my use it or lose it box at all. So this piece is gonna go in here like so. And I am going to, I think this guy fits in here. And then I'm going to use the German book page, which I suppose if I'm going this way. So for the book page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it on to the section I want it. I'm not going to worry about trimming that off because that's going to get covered with this piece. So I'll just have to trim off the pieces that aren't going to get covered by another piece as we go along. Let's find my scissors. And I should have waited to glue this down so that I wouldn't have to do any trimming, but I forgot that. Yeah, I'm definitely at the end of the day kind of thing where it's like, okay, let's just get this project done because you're done. Also doesn't help that it has gotten very warm, and so I am kind of sweltering in my t-shirt, which is just wrong. It's January. I shouldn't be hot wearing a t-shirt in my house, but I am. So we're just gonna trim that all off. Doesn't have to be the neatest because you're not really going to see. Just, yeah. So that's gonna go there. This will go on top and cover up that little bit. And then I grabbed some, I had some just white ones sitting in my container. And I am gonna stamp on them. Let's just line them up and stamp them all at once. And I think I'm gonna use this stamp, which needs to be cleaned off because it still has Victorian velvet on it. And I think I'm just gonna use Shabby Shutters. So it's book page, printable, stamped piece, book page, printable, yes, no, printable, stamped piece, book page. So we got to do book page in those two spots. Just trying to figure out how big I need the next two pieces to be so I can just kind of trim a piece off from my book page. Yes, I definitely should have not put this down because it would have made it easier. I wouldn't have had to do any trimming. I could have just cut it straight across, but I did not, so yeah. I think before I glue it down, I'm just gonna kind of trim a little bit of an angle there and over here so that I don't have to futz with it quite so much. There we go. Let's glue that into place. So, let's shift that over. There we go. And then, so that's printable, stamped, printable, stamped, book page. All right. And do the same thing again for this one. Kind of just angle snip a little bit off so that it's not sticking out. The same over there, and then just glue it down. There we go. So move those pieces out. And what we're gonna do now is glue this down and then glue the other ones into place. Probably should have put some ink on the white background before I started sticking stuff in, although you really can't tell all that much with that guy, so I'm not too worried about it. And if it bugs me later, I can always stick something here as like a focal image to cover it. So there we go, we've got that one done. And I know proportion-wise, it's a little off with how much space is up here, which is why I suspect I'm gonna end up turning this into a tag when it goes into a journal. What I can do, however, is trim this excess bit off. Because yeah, I definitely didn't center this on here when I cut it. So, but yeah, so we'll see. It may become a tag, it may be a tall belly band, and I may put something else up top to disguise the fact that this doesn't go all the way to the top. So we're gonna set that one aside. We've got one last one. And what I've decided to do is I'm gonna ink this background and I'm gonna add some burlap ribbon to it and then put the chevron on top. And I think that would look nice. And for the base, I'm gonna ink with Spiced Marmalade. add a little more glue inside since it is coming unglued. All right, so I'm gonna grab my Abrotique for this, and I am just gonna apply a whole bunch on here and then go back and add more if I need to. And let's just trim off our excess. And since we're going on top of the burlap ribbon, I am just gonna go ahead and use my Abrotique. And all right, so we got that one done. It feels very fall to me, so that's probably gonna wait to get decorated until I'm working on fall journals again. Grab a little more glue, just to make sure this edge is stuck down. I figured I'd let you know the dies I used to create all of those pieces that were in my stash. And they're the Holtz Sizzix Chevron, Wave, and Trellis dies. I don't know if they're still available. And they are 659428, 660027, and 659431. And so those were the dies that were used to create the pieces we were playing with today. So here's everything we got done. Got that one, which I will save for the fall and decorate later. This guy who I haven't decided yet if it's going to end up becoming a tag or stay a belly band. And I did go ahead and create a belly band and a little short tag using the offcuts from this backer piece so that it did not end up going into my stash. That one's fully decorated. This one will get decorated when I know where it's going. I've got a sewing one decorated and another sewing one decorated. Let's shift everything over so it's actually all on camera. And I just noticed that this apparently was sitting on my desk somewhere and it got wet, so I'm gonna have to add something over here to cover up the fact that it's a printable, it got wet and it bled, and the base is done with distress inks and it got wet, and so they all bled. So I will do something to cover that up. But that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.